So in this final part of the Magic of Life series, we'll cover some of the important organ systems which include the skin and the integumentary system. So the skin protects by covering and has a cosmetic function and regulates temperature. I have a separate video on skincare. I invite you to review that as well. Integumentary system includes sweat glands, which are part of the excretory system. It helps with the fluid balance as well as with temperature regulation. So when we have sweating and you have a hot environment around you, the sweat evaporates and it cools down. So this is one of the mechanisms your body can stay cool, and that's why you feel very stuffy in a humid environment, because the sweat is produced due to the heat, but you cannot lose the sweat by evaporation because the environment is humid. So the water staying on your skin makes you feel very sticky. So this is the structure of the skin. So basically we have the epidermis, which is the top surface of the skin, the dermis and the hypodermis with the fat and the blood vessels. We have the hair root here, and we have the sweat gland sometimes curving around. So the erector pilaris muscle is connected to the root of the hair follicle, and that's why the hair stands on the edge when we are excited. The skin disorders include problems like allergy, eczema. We may have irritation or contact dermatitis, infection like bacterial, fungal, and viral infections, autoimmune conditions like systemic lupus producing a rash. There are many conditions which produce a skin reaction. Drug allergies can produce a skin reaction as well. I have a video on common skin rash in babies, and you're welcome to review. There's one on atopic dermatitis as well. So lastly, I'll discuss the immune system. There is a separate video on immunity and vaccines as well, which I can refer to you. So we have the immune system mainly to provide a defense against infection, and it's a balance between identifying external organisms and fighting them versus recognizing one's own tissues as self and not resisting them. Sometimes this balance is disturbed, and so we may get conditions like autoimmunity related conditions, systemic lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis, Graves' disease. These are examples of autoimmune conditions. So the body is actually failing to recognize its own tissue areas as self and starts producing antibodies to that. And you may get hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, joint damage. You may get bone marrow abnormalities and so on. Sometimes the autoimmune conditions can affect the brain as well. So we have, in terms of fighting infection, innate immunity, which is the immunity which is already present. It's the first line defense, including the skin, the mucosal lining, and the white blood cells. And we have passive immunity, which is related to antibodies acquired from the mother to the fetus, and antibody from immunoglobulin treatment that we may give in certain conditions. Active immunity is basically immunity that we acquire by exposure to the pathogen, which can be an infectious organism. And then there is a response of the body, the T cell response and the B cell response, which leads to production of antibodies. And there is also memory lymphocytes, which keep the memory response, so that the next time you are exposed to the same pathogen, you respond in a much quicker way. So this memory response is key for vaccines having a long-term effect. Of course, we have vaccination against many different conditions. This has led to our fighting many diseases successfully. I'll refer you to my video on vaccines to get more information on this. When we are deficient in immune components, we have immunodeficiency. It can be congenital. We are born with the defect of certain types. We may not produce immunoglobulin, for example, or our innate immunity may be lacking, like the neutrophils may not be able to fight the infection appropriately because we have steps in the process. The bacteria has to be engulfed by the macrophage, and then the killing of the pathogen happens within the cell. So we may have enzyme defects within the cell, which can lead to chronic granulomatous disease or other conditions. So there can be drugs or toxins or infections which can suppress the bone marrow and can lead to immune deficiency. HIV causing acquired immune deficiency syndrome is well known, and that's one of the main reasons people with HIV don't survive longer without treatment. We have to measure immunoglobulin and antibody response in the body and measure the lymphocyte subsets as well. If you are immunodeficient, you have to treat with antibiotics, and we may have specific treatment according to the condition. IV immune globulin injections and bone marrow transplant can be considered as well. So I request you to go through the series and share it with others as well. The last couple of points on reproductive system, which I will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.